Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, MiniPaintingDM. Today I'm going to be going over, let me hide that, oops. This is going to be spoiler warning for anyone that is in my Saturday group. You want to turn away. But today we're going to be going over one of the final boss forms. For the final boss within Critical Role's campaign called the Netherdeep. First form, as you can see here, here's my mini planner where I plan out for this campaign anyways, all the different encounters and all the minis that are associated with it. Alyxian the Tormented. And this is what Alyxian, according to the official artwork, within the book, what Alyxian the Tormented is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be all of his anguish and past memories and all the things that are haunting him in sort of in a physical form. And yes, there actually is a mini that somebody made out there that's supposed to match this monstrosity. But you know what? After spending a little over a year on this campaign, I thought this didn't quite do it justice, so we're going to be using this. I thought it was a little bit more hideous, a little bit more sinister. There are a lot within the lore, a lot of precedent for the mini eyes, and Ruidus Born. And it's got the mini tentacles. I guess the original artwork didn't have tentacles, but you know what? I thought this fit. It's called the Netherdeep. They've been dealing with weird tentacle-y things anyways. It's got teeth and maws, and the back is equally disgusting. There's like extra faces and teeth along the side. Yeah, here on the back. This is great. Anyways, it is a beautiful model. This is by Comet Lord Miniatures, who's one of the people that I patron. And yeah, let me. Oh, I forgot to pick it up off the shelf. Anyways, let me switch to painting cam, and we will get at it. Oh, and by the way, I hope the audio today is a little bit better. We will be. I will be tweaking all of the settings here on the channel and try to dial it in more and more as time goes on, and you know, hopefully it's better. Alright, let me just pick it up here off the shelf. Got all my spoilers up in a box, so that way I don't people are in my house, they do not get spoiled. For those who were watching the stream yesterday, there's a bit of a different camera angle today. I got a new cam arm, a new boom mic setup thing for my top-down camera, which has also allowed me to put my overhead light, which is now off frame, up higher. And it's going to allow me to be more, have better lighting for when I'm talking to the camera over here. So, let's see here. Here's our model. We did some zenithal priming on it yesterday. So we got some nice different fades and shadows, and we've got some dark areas. I still haven't fully decided how I want to paint this thing, if I'm being honest. I was thinking about it last night. And one thing to note, there are some print errors with this print. I think I printed it when it was... I had some older resin that was having some minor failures. I've got some layer lines right in here where there was some shifting. So, you know, it's not a perfect print, but it's such a big mini, I didn't want to have to print it a second time just for these sort of minor errors. I even had to like do some fill-in down here with some green stuff, but it's not noticeable. You know, this thing has, it actually once it was primed, it looks really good. I mean, it's all organic shapes anyways. So, yeah, how do I want to paint this thing? Well, like I was saying yesterday on the stream, and this channel in general is about, you know, how to paint quickly and efficiently. By the way, I got the little axolotl that I painted yesterday here, just as a tribute to yesterday's stream. Thought it came out great. Then we have the stab block for Alyxian the Tormented over here on the side. Yeah, there you go. But anyways, one of the things that I'm about is like trying to paint quickly. Right? That's why I use contrast paint. Part of the point of why I print quickly is, you know, I try to make sure that all of the minis that I put on the table are representative of the monsters, and I don't have any lame proxies. You know, sometimes if there are proxies because, or they're not exactly representative of the monster. Like this guy, it's for intention. Like I wanted this specific model because I thought it looked cooler than the official artwork. Well, one thing we're going to do for sure, now that I'm thinking about this, all these eyes that are here, I think we're going to paint all of these eyes red. Again, there's a lore reason for that. So, I think Blood Angel's red would be good. And then with the iris, maybe we'll paint the iris. Red eyes with a black iris. That. I think I'm gonna have to do that. So it's the only thing that fits color-wise with it. So we're gonna use some Blood Angel's red here, as well as Black Templar for the eyes. I picked up Skeleton Horde for painting sort of the teeth. I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure if I want the iris to be black. God, what do I do with the eyes? Give me a second. Well, that's a neat effect. Okay, here's what we'll do. And we're going to do this on one of the smaller eyes as a test. So that way we don't screw up a larger part of the model. Oh, you know what? I could do the iris. Oh. Yeah, let's do that. Working this out as I go. But again, this is part of the process, right? Sometimes the miniature's got to talk to you. And we're not going to screw around with paint holders today because this base is A, huge, and B, yesterday, man, it was... You watched my stream yesterday, that was hilarious how many times that axolotl model flew off the base. Although this base... Alright, we'll try it. I don't like painting without a paint handle. Alright, let's grab a big old brush. Let's grab this guy. It's a newer synthetic brush that I picked up in a local hobby store. It is quite nice for loading up a lot of paint on it. Okay. let's see how this ends up looking. No, I'm changing my mind. That's a good idea, but no. Changing my mind before I'm even starting here. I'm gonna go with my first gut. So I'm looking at some examples of like people who do like creepy lenses and things like that. And they do like a pink and an iris. So we're using Doomfire Magenta. And then on the eye itself, we do it red. And I'm going to have to use a smaller brush for this. Also, I want to make my life really hard when I get to the skin. So I think I want the skin to be a paler color, which, you know, I'm breaking my rule here, doing a darker color for a lighter color. There we go. That is not... That doesn't do enough for me. I mean, I love the red on the eye itself, but I am not sold on this magenta color on the iris. So we're just going to use a little bit of water, try to clean that off. I think I'm going to go with my second gut instinct, which is I'm going with Eden Yellow, however you say that. This is, I hope, Alright, so it's just a smaller brush. Alright. Do another eye here. Not sure if I like how that's coming out. Not sure that's giving me the right feeling. Well, okay. I think maybe I just need to do the whole eye red. Which is how it has been depicted before in Critical Role lore. When they've had these many eyes. funny how my general shtick and what I'm trying to promote is speed painting for Dungeons and Dragons, but oh, that was not a paint cup. Don't worry, I didn't put it in my coffee. Different cup. Anyhow, my general goal is to like teach people how to paint quickly and efficiently for campaigns, and I've picked to start my streaming minis that are big and huge and have a lot of detail. But you'll see as I progress through the channel. Once I'm done painting the next 3 models, I'll be switching to stuff for my alright, I'm liking this more. Stuff for our next campaign, which is going to be Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, yeah, I'm going to be painting lots of little things. Powering through, I think I have like 20 models to paint. Now after this week, I have like 20 models to paint in the next 2 weeks. Because we're going to be starting the campaign in 2 weeks. And while some of the models I already have ready to go and painted, there's a lot of new things in this campaign that I don't have. Yeah, this is going to look real good, I think, once the whole thing is done, skin is painted, etc. Okay. I think now that I've decided on the Eyes of Ruidus, I think I've now decided in my head what I want. I was deliberating between a couple of different skin colors, and I think I know what I want to do now, because I think it's going to contrast well with the red eyes, with the Ruidus red eyes. Go away, color. We don't want you. Put you away. Put you away. One thing that will help you a lot in your speed painting journey is making sure that you have a good system for your paints. You know, you really want to be able to, when you want a paint, know where it is. That's why I really like having, and again, it's unfortunate that GW doesn't carry these anymore. They have this really nice paint holder, or paint organizer series, and I think it works really good. Because if I'm going to a painting party at my local hobby store, or just hanging out with the crew, painting up some minis, I can take it with me and it stays organized. Or if I decide to start streaming, I just pick up move my painting desk, and all my stuff stays organized. But regardless, hey Mighty Owl, how's it going, buddy? Welcome back to the stream. We are painting a hideous monstrosity today. It will hopefully scare the crap out of my level 12 characters. Or at least be inspiringly horrifying. For those people who are, hopefully you're not interested in playing Call of the Netherdeep, because I might say some things that are spoilery. If so, just mute your ears for a moment here, but maybe I'll come up with a new thing that I can flash up for a while. It's like spoiler warning, So that way people can like mute their audio or something. So I will be talking about campaigns a lot on this channel. But one of the things, where was my brain going? They're level 12, they're going to be fighting this guy. I don't know where my brain was going. We are going to stop painting eyes for a little bit because I want to test more of the color scheme. So we're going to paint up these teeth right here. Oh yes, I know where my brain was going. And again, spoiler warning if you care about the details of Call of the Netherdeep. But one of the really interesting things that Matt Mercer did when he came up with this campaign and he wrote the ending, Matt Mercer believes a lot in like player agency and like the things that they do having a real effect on the world. And you know, while there is a lot of jokes in the Critical Role community about, oh man, they have really good writers, it's all scripted. It's not. And it's evident as well in his book, or books. I don't have Tal'Dorei Reborn, but certainly in Call of the Netherdeep as a campaign, there's a lot of player agency and what the players are doing having an effect on the storyline written into the book. And in the case of this character, Alyxian, you know, he's pretty much the centerpiece of the whole campaign. And you know, at a certain point, the characters are given the opportunity to essentially pass judgment over him as a character. And if the characters, you know, and a lot of people have a lot of empathy, and the reality is the worst, there's actually multiple endings for the campaign, and the worst ending is for people who have empathy. If you run up into Alyxian and you sort of forgive him without any consequences, you free him and he basically annihilates all of Exandria. It's terrible. So the better ending is to basically sort of have doubt in him, and you know, he ends up essentially fighting you. And I'll stop there in case any of my party members watch the rest of this stream. We won't spoil those details, but you know, the point is, it's really, I don't know, it's kind of lame that there is that, oh, you feel sorry for him, so I'm going to give you the worst ending. So I gave the players a few extra opportunities to do like some insight checks. And amazingly, the last insight check I was going to give them before just ending the campaign with the worst possible ending was, I had them all roll insight, and there were three fucking natural 20s rolled at the table, and it was wild, and everybody exploded. It's like, oh my god, I think this gum color is that's too dark. This is too dark. We want a lighter color. We want gums, not like, where's that color? There we go. Let's go back. It was purple. A nice pinky color. Here we go. Let's do this color here. That's more what I want. is going to be the final, like, big test of how this fucking monstrosity is going to look. I hope this is the right color decision. We will find out. This color here is Space Wolf Gray, which is very... for those who are into Warhammer 40k, they know immediately what that color means. But for those who don't, it is like a really bluish gray. Gray with a lot of blue in it. And I find that this color, along with Griff Charger Gray, is really good for unnatural looking skin. So like zombie skin or in this case, otherworldly sort of tentacle-y things. Now I could have gone with Apothecary White here. But I think I want a little bit more color. I don't want to go completely pale. And this feels a bit more abyssal to me. This sort of bluish skin. Oh yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. And there's a crazy amount of contrast between the red eyes and the blue skin here. And all these little texture bumps that Comet Lord puts into his sculpts is just playing very well with the contrast. There's not a whole lot of area where there's completely smooth texture. There's little bump mapping everywhere. And our Zenithal highlighting on top of that is also adding a lot to the paint scheme. But here we go. I think I'm happy with this. So whenever you're unsure about a model, you know, definitely pick an area of the model. Don't start in the most important place. I didn't start like at the eyeball, at the very top center, right? I didn't paint that eyeball first. But you know, start with an area that's somewhat significant, that has like a couple of different parts to it, like the teeth and the gums and the tentacles and the eyes. So that way you can test in this relative area, you know, how are all these colors going to interact and, you know, look pleasing to the eye and that kind of thing. And test it out before you go ham. Now I'm not going to paint every tentacle now this way. Now that I've proven the color scheme to myself, I'm going to finish this one section of tentacle. If you notice, I'm stopping at like where two tentacles come together. There's a reason for that with contrast. You want to sort of look for intersection points or creases in a muscle or something like that to stop painting, where there's going to be a natural place of shadow. And we're going to finish up this tentacle, and then I'm going to start just with one color going all over the model. Now, normally, if you wanted to have a good feeling of completion, you want to paint the area of the model that maybe is the biggest first. So that way the model feels more complete sooner. And so that would be the skin. But there's also the rule with contrast of you want to start with lighter colors first. So I'm going to start with, we're just going to go everywhere and paint everything, whether it's these spikes or protruding bone or teeth. gonna go over all of that with Skeleton Horde. And just get Skeleton Horde out of the way. This updated height for my camera is so much more pleasing for my back. Yesterday after painting for 3 hours hunched over because I didn't have the right camera set up, my back was definitely angry at me. At least my upper back and shoulders. Today my shoulders and pecs are angry at me because I worked out a little bit too hard at the gym yesterday. But no pain, no gain, as they say. Come on, tablet, why do you keep freezing? There we go. I have a little tablet set up in front of me that helps me just sort of monitor how the stream is going. Am I keeping everything in frame? Once I get a more official setup going, I'll have just another monitor there probably. Like I said, it's all a work in progress. The most important thing right now is for me to be painting. I'm making little tweaks to the setup as I go. I just have a lot of stuff that I need to get painted right now. The beautiful thing about Skeleton Horde, you can just slap it on. A lot of times I'll even just, if it's a smaller spike or whatever, I'll just load up the brush and sort of like stick it around the spike. So I'm painting all the sides in one go. That is not a spike, that's like a tongue or something. Bunch of teeth, random mouth parts. You know, Comet Lord is a much smaller studio. I think he's just one guy, and he has like a second person that helps him with supports. And I've been supporting him for a very long time. Not right when he started off, but pretty soon after he started off. I think there's only been like a few releases that I had to go back and back buy. Because, you know, those people that I collect, I like to have all their stuff. Because, I don't know, completionist obsession. But yeah, Comet Lord, he's great. He does a lot of really good. I think where he's in his sweet spot is sort of abyssal creatures like this. I mean, he literally calls himself the Comet Lord. And some of his best sculpts are weird abyssal aberrations and monsters. He does a few like character models, but usually even those characters are twisted in some way. Really like his cultists. His cultists of the Comet Lord. He did several really good Tortles. I had a player character that was running a Tortle Paladin, Oath of the Ancients, I believe. And he used we used one of Comet Lord's models for that. And there's been several other really cool models that I've printed from him in the past that are smaller. I think his I forget the name of the monster, but they're these weird multi-armed septipod type creatures. name escapes me. What they're called. Yeah, we're just gonna go all around the model here, get all of this bone colored stuff painted. Then I'm gonna do probably the skin second, and then the eyeballs, because I will probably be more careful painting the eyeballs, or I don't know. Wow, that looks really great. I do like how that came out. You know, somebody who was watching my stream yesterday commented to me after the fact. He's like, you know, it's really weird. Like, some of the paints you put down, it looked like it was way too bright. But then as you painted more and more of the model, it appeared darker. And I do think that's just a reality of photography. You know, because the majority of this model is white, things are going to look pretty washed out. And then as I get more and more paint on the model, you'll have a better appreciation for the contrast and the darkness. And contrast too, you know, it's going to look a little bit different as it dries. Some of the paints end up looking brighter as they dry, some of them end up looking darker as they dry. It's just, as you use contrast paint, you get a feel for what the end effect of the paint job is going to be, and then base your sort of painting decisions on that. That's why I think a lot of people, and I personally do this as well on paper, is if I'm unsure about what a contrast paint is, maybe it's a new one, right? Because they've done a couple of different releases of contrast paint, or it's just one I haven't used in a while. If there's some of the blue-greens I get confused about, you could just take it and take like a white piece of paper. Make sure it's a cool white piece of paper. Make sure it doesn't have a lot of yellow in it. And, you know, just paint a line on a piece of paper. And it won't give you a full idea of what it'll look like, but it will give you a better impression than just looking at the pot. Some people, what they'll do is they'll 3D print the same part, like a base or something like that, and they'll paint it something that has enough detail to show the contrast, highlights and edging and that kind of thing that contrast does. And they'll just print out like 40 of them, and they'll write the name of the contrast paint on the bottom of the base or something, and then paint it. And it's that way you see it on a model with the primer that you use. Because that's important too, right? Like, color of contrast paint isn't just the paint itself, but it's the paint in reaction or in complement to the primer you're using. You know, I use this Vallejo gray, which is almost, or light gray, which is almost white. It has a lot less dark gray in it than, like, let's say, a rattle can primer from GW of Gray Seer. Gray Seer is a lot darker. So, contrast paint for me over Vallejo is going to get me much different results than somebody who's painting over Gray Seer. Now, why Vallejo Gray, you might be asking? Well, part of the reason why I do that is I find that airbrush priming, you have a lot more control over getting the paint where you want it to be. And it's also way thinner than you'll ever get with a rattle can. It takes longer to prime with an airbrush because you want to paint one, you want to prime one model at a time. If you're, as opposed to people who, you know, and I've done this where you just stick it on like a stick. I even bought one of those GW like rubber band stick things. Tried that product out. Didn't like it. I mean, it was okay. It's just didn't fit for my process. But yeah, you can put it on there, and you know you can get like 10 models primed in like seconds. But you're not going to get the same sort of attention to priming a single model at a time. And for bigger models like this, I'll zenithal highlight. But for smaller models, which you'll be seeing one of those in the coming days, I don't bother with the zenithal highlighting. I find that, you know, on the tabletop when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, adding extra shadow on a, like, you don't have this kind of lighting on your table when you're playing tabletop and people are throwing down dice on a Saturday morning or in the evening, whenever you play. So I find that, oh man, that's actually a legit full mouth in there. I think that's all the teeth parts. I find that if you always want to paint the model brighter than it normally would be, which means don't go super ham on like the dark areas need to be really dark. I just put contrast all over, and I let the fact that, hey, there's shadows in real life with real lighting. You're not going to have perfect lighting. So I'm going to do these gums next. Everywhere where there's mouthy parts. Again, this is Magos Purple. It's a great color for gums or insides of mouths. I personally like using Vulpus Pink for tongues. That's a color that I first started off with and then made a bad decision. I was like, no, I need Magos Purple, not Vulpus Pink. Vulpus Pink is a little darker. But again, I like that for tongues, because tongues are generally darker than the rest of the inside of your mouth. Depending on the mini, I might just use Vulpus Pink or just Magos Purple, like I'm doing here. Sometimes if you use too many different colors or too similar colors next to each other, people are going to notice anyways. And that's, again, that's something that we need to evaluate as we're painting, is we're not trying to win awards here, we're trying to put down minis on a table that's going to excite our D&D group. Alright, more mouthy parts. But, okay, so here's an example. This mouth right here. I am going to paint sort of the mouth bits. This little, like, side skin flap. And the inside of the mouth. This side skin flap. We'll paint all that Vulpus Pink. But then the tongue, we will use, I'm sorry, Magos Purple. The tongue we will use bulbous paint. So I really want that tongue to like punch. Boom. Just like that. I'm trying to decide what I want to do with this sort of sinewy center sections like this. There's still more toothiness for me to paint. Let's get that out of the way. Go. Well, I haven't even decided what I want to do with the ground yet. Well, there are actually, believe it or not, there's starfish on the ground here. And other little bits that sort of tells me it feels more like a sandy situation. So we might, I think I might do that next. I know it feels a little out of order, but if I don't do that next, it's going to be really hard to do it later. So I'm going to use similar things that I did on my last stream. I'm going to use Magnedoff Flame here for the starfish. We're going to use, let's see, there's some rocks, basilicum gray for the rocks. And then something I did not do last stream, I really love this color for any kind of like sandy bottom. Sandy bottom. Agros Dunes. Let me start off with the Agros Dunes. I'm going to use a bigger brush for this. Again, one beautiful thing about zenithal highlighting is a lot of areas that are just really deep shadow. And so we don't have to worry about full coverage. We get like 95%, we're pretty good. So I'm just taking this big brush and I'm just slamming it in here. Trying to avoid the rocks and the starfish. I do want to avoid getting as much of this on the tentacles, though. That would be ideal. Paint pot, you are being unagreeable. So if I do get any paint on the tentacles, I'm making sure to like wipe it off. If I get a lot on there, I will use a wet brush to sort of remove that paint. So you've got a barnacle right there. I'll slap some skeleton horde on that. This is what we do with barnacles. I was a little messy with the thick super glue when I was trying to get this model down on its base. By the way, model holder, you're doing a much better job today. Anyways, there's like some weird texture that was left by the super glue in a couple of places. But you know what? I kind of like it. It's added a bunch of texture onto the base that wasn't there before. I think I might go in with some green and make it like a sea algae or something like that over those areas. Or like a darker color. Sounding more and more like Bob Ross as I'm painting. You know, it's your miniature. It's your paint your happy little moss. A little happy little starfish over here. Noticing another partial mouth I need to paint. Some gums. So if I finish painting this guy today, I've got one other similarly large miniature. Another form of Alyxian. Got that to paint. Maybe tomorrow? Maybe Friday? And then his final form, which is actually his simplest form, smallest form, it will probably only take me about 20 minutes to a half an hour to paint. Maybe even less. But that will be, you know, even if I wait till Friday, because I got some family in town, so I will be checking them out, spending some time with them on Thursday. And then, even if I wait till Friday to paint his last form, So I do have a D&D group that I'm hosting tomorrow. So if I do try to paint tomorrow, it'd be before heading over to my brother's for my niece's birthday / D&D extravaganza. Alright, that's good. All nice and painted up. Splashing water everywhere. Yeah, we're gonna skip this song. Too much talking. Alright. Well, I'm the only one allowed to talk here. Alright. That's good. Oh. I guess I didn't explain this before. Why did I choose to do the base? I said it was going to be harder. The reason why it would have been harder is, if you notice, I'm bracing my hand against like the tentacles here. It's important to always have a part of the model that you can brace yourself against, or the base. So I could have braced my pinky here, I guess, if I didn't want to touch the model. But then this finger, the ring finger, is touching the model. So the longer I delay in painting the tentacles, the less likely I'm going to be touching like wet spots. Now I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time painting little details here on this base. You know, you don't want to overpaint a base because then it'll detract from the model itself. Think of your base as like just the backdrop for your character. And you want it painted well enough that it doesn't look like crap. But you also don't want to go too nuts, because people are going to pay attention, or you want people to pay attention here, right? This is where they're going to look, or if they're on this other table, they're going to look here, depending on the way the model's oriented and where they're sitting at the table. They're not going to be looking at the base. Even when they're inspecting it closely, they're going to be looking at like these teeth and crap. They're not going to be paying attention to what's going on in the base. They might glance at it a little bit to sort of say, "Oh man, there's a little starfish, there's tentacle, there's," but they're gonna spend like almost no energy looking at your base. So don't spend a lot of time on it. You know, that's why I like, for a lot of my models, I will buy the Loot Studios has really great bases that come with their models. So a lot of times if I'm printing a Loot Studio model, I will print the base that goes with it. But aside from that, and for most models, if it's a huge model like this, I'll almost print the base that comes with it, because I'm not going to buy huge bases. I'm going to print them. But for small models, you know, your standard model that fits on a 32mm base or a 25mm small base, you know, I will... Ugh. Got sloppy there. I will just glue them, whether they're a WizKids model or a printed model or a GW plastic model. Doesn't matter. I will put them on GW bases because I did the math, and if you look at the cost of resin and the time to print and clean and everything for 25mm and 32mm bases, if you buy them in bulk from GW, which you can buy them in like 25 packs, it's way cheaper and more economical just to get those plastic bases from GW. And then I use like GW texture paste. A lot of times either Armageddon Dust with like a brown wash and stuff like that, or I'll use Astral Granite if it's for a monster that's more subterranean or in a cave or abyssal or something like that. So the surface dwelling creature, more of the earthy base, and if it is a more subterranean creature, more of a rocky base. But yeah, that's it. That's what I do for my bases usually. Because again, you don't want them to be too detailed. You don't want to take away from the model. Another studio that actually does really nice bases, if it's a larger model and I need to print like, let's say 50mm or larger base, and the model doesn't have its own base, or I don't like the base that it comes with. Studio they're really like, and I've been again a patron of them for a very long time, almost from the beginning of them producing models. Titan Forge Miniatures. In their releases, they always have great bases, and so like there's been a lot of aquatic themes in this Call of the Netherdeep, especially in the later half of the campaign. And so I printed out a whole bunch of monsters that are like large crabs and, you know, shit ton of crazy underwatery sort of things. And those miniatures all got I put Magos Purple away. I didn't want to do that. Where's Magos Purple? Oh, this is Magos Purple. No, that's Burgundy. That's a great color. Their new Burgundy color is so fucking fire. Here we go. Bulbous Pink. Bulbous Pink back out. So I think I will, in fact, need that. Alright, let's paint some gums. Okay, mouth parts. Are all the mouth parts painted? I think so. Alright. I think we're gonna use Vulpus Pink for painting these bits here. These sort of like sinewy bits. Yeah, like that. Paint holder. You're doing great work today. Miniature has not... Okay, Golden Demon Cup, I don't want you there. I keep trying to flick paint in you. We got this great cup from Games Workshop a few years back. At one of the Christmas parties. Or, no, it was a shop birthday. And it's got the Golden Demon on it. It's a great little cup. I don't actually use it as a paint cup. I just liked the little Golden Demon painting his demon. It's very inspiring for me. It's sort of a mascot here at my table. You don't know what I'm talking about? I'll show you what it looks like real fast. There you go. That's the Golden Demon, which is the name of the GW sort of big painting contest they do annually, and you know, people compete at a very high level for winning that prize. They also have this prize they call the Slayer Sword. I think it's like basically best in show. You know, you can get a Golden Demon in different categories, but the one person walks away with the Slayer Sword every year. It's literally a sword. But again, those are people who are, you know, painting on a level that is awe-inspiring for me, because they'll spend weeks on a single model or diorama. But I ain't got time for that. People who are watching this channel ain't got time for that. We got D&D campaigns to run. And who knows, that model that you're painting may never even see the light of day on the table. That's another thing you have to accept, by the way, if you sort of commit to DMing the way I DM. You know, you might have 200 minis prepped, and you just have to accept that, you know, just like any prep in D&D, the players may never consume that content. They may go a totally different way, they may make different decisions, and, you know, don't railroad your players. That's not nice. You know, you can guide them in the right direction, but don't railroad them. Certainly for stuff that doesn't matter. And the reality is, I've found, you know, even if they never engage with that content in this campaign, you're going to use that mini in a future campaign. So it's okay. Don't fret about it. It's not time wasted. You didn't waste your time. You printed a really cool fucking mini. You painted a really cool fucking mini. You should be proud of that. And oh yeah, this looks really cool. I love how bulbous paint gives like a very slight impression of like bloodiness without being bloody. I keep doing that, painting off camera. Sorry, guys. I think in the coming weeks I'm going to script and make a video of like a really good intro for the channel. Sort of like telling people like who I am, why this channel exists, what I'm trying to convey through the channel. And just play that as part of the starting soon. You know, say starting soon. As you transition that, play like a little short clip. And also have that short clip as the, you know, I'm not currently broadcasting sort of video. And like the channel summary video on YouTube. I do also want to start streaming on YouTube simultaneously. If my bandwidth can handle it. I think it can. I think OBS supports that. Oh! Woo! There you go, folks. Take a drink. The Mini has jumped off the handle. It's flown off the handle, guys. I think that's going to be the in-joke on this channel, is how many times the Mini flies off the handle. I'm sure somebody, you know, months from now when the channel gets more popular is going to make some kind of like statistic page with a running total of how many times I've had a Mini fall off the handle, fly off the handle, quote unquote. Alright. I think it's eyeball time. I really want to do something different with the center iris. So I'm going to try to do, well, let's try doing Fire Magenta. Let's see what happens. Do Fire Magenta, and we're going to grab Black Templar. Slap that right in the middle. And then you can see now why I have multiple of these paint holders. I don't think I really showcased that as much with the axolotl yesterday, but you can see now why I have multiple. And I do them in like little, you know, based on the area of the model I'm painting. I'll have them in little clusters of 3. So like eyeballs with the skin color and the teeth. Big smooth surface area. Oh boy. Oh man. Looks so good with Vanius. It's gonna look even better as it dries. Yummy. Look at it. It's starting to separate. That's beautiful. Alright, let's finish up the rest of the eyeballs. And then finish up with the skin. This paint job went fast. I think I might go around the eyeballs and just right in the center of the eye with just a little dot of black for the iris. or for the pupil, I mean. One thing you'll do is the more you paint, you know, you'll as the more of the model gets painted, you'll be like, oh, I missed that little detail. So more of the model is painted now, and as I'm painting the eyeballs, it's like, oh, that's another little spiky. And down here, there's more spikies. Come on, good posturing, buddy. Alright, little spikies, little spikies. That's an eyeball. Eyeballs aplenty. Eyeballs of many. Many eyes are ruinous. Let's go. Alright, we are on the home stretch. We're only 33 minutes into this paint job. Believe it or not. 33 minutes. Like I said before, we want to stick to areas, similar areas of the model, and you see like right there, I'm making sure to paint this tentacle, and then I'm stopping right there, that crease line. It's important because when I come back over and I paint now that tentacle, the area where I'm, you know, painting two areas of paint next to each other, that's going to be even darker. So you kind of want to use a recessed section or a fold or a line like a physical line like that, because you'll probably end up like having a little point there where you're double painting, where you're putting down the initial paint and then you're putting the, you know, going back with the next. You know, when I paint this, that middle section where the two points meet will probably be a double amount of paint. And that matters because contrast paint is all about translucency. It's not opaque, it's semi-transparent. And so it's like basic math. 1 + 1 = 2. You're going to end up with a darker spot there. So you don't want that to be like in the middle here. You want it to be at a crease So that way, if it's a little darker spot, who cares? It's supposed to be an area of shadow anyways. Now, another thing is, if you just paint quickly, it doesn't matter anyways either. With contrast paint, you really want to paint whole areas of continuous color quickly. Another reason why having different brushes is extremely important with contrast. You don't want to be painting a huge area like this with a little brush. You want to sweep over the area with a single pass and get the entire thing covered. Or as much as possible. Big sweep. Big sweep. Yeah, just like that. Oh man, this is gonna be fucking sweet when it's done. I think the axolotl yesterday just took way longer than it should have because I was a bit indecisive on the color scheme. It's also something for a birthday present. So I think it probably took longer than I normally would for something of equivalent size. I mean, arguably this guy is bigger. But the details are also different on this guy, you know? He has more color on him, like more different colors, more different areas of interest, but he's also more of an organic shape, and it's made painting the different areas without goofing up. There aren't like a lot of little details where I had to worry about messing things up. Metallics also can really increase the time you need to paint things. You know, having to base paint, then the metallic, then the wash. It's a three-step process going over the same area, and a lot of them is that armor. That's the beautiful thing about contrast is you're getting a base paint, a highlight, and a shade all in one go. You're not having to go over each one of these areas 3 times. And that, my friends, is the secret. You ain't got time to paint the same model 3 times. You ain't got time for that. I think that's going to be another in-joke of this channel. I can feel it. Ain't got time for that. Oh, that. The double brush technique. Ooh. Getting progressively harder to paint this guy without putting my finger where there's already wet paint. Even though this is a big fat brush, you notice I'm still able to get around all these little details. It's because what you're looking for in a good hobby brush is like, even though it's big and fat, you can load up a lot of paint on it, which is especially important with contrast paint, because you want it to like flow off the brush. You don't want to like be painting it on. You want it to like just come off like a wash brush. But at the same time, you want a good tip. You want a nice firm, you want it firm enough that thick enough that it holds a lot of paint, but also firm enough that you can get a nice tip and get around details like this. I'm off camera again, sorry. Yeah, half an hour in, we're already at the halfway point. We're past the halfway point now. 33 minutes in. And hey, I didn't even start painting right at the start. You gotta remember, there's also the 10 minutes of intro, right? So we're only like 20 minutes in on this model. That's wild. It's like I got a fast process or something. Fast process that you should be using if you want to paint minis for Dungeons and Dragons. It's almost like that's the reason why I made this channel. To help people like you do what I do. To make your D&D groups more fun, more magical, more engaging. Because even when you have a great group, which I have one amazing group, one okay group, they're newbies. But minis, you put a good painted mini on the table, decently painted mini, you put their character models that you've helped source for them, print for them, and it's a good representation of their character, and they see that on the table. I feel this should be a different. This should be sinew. Shoot, I need to get this off here. Let's clean that off. All right. Anyways, like I was saying, if you put well-painted minis on the table, you know, it doesn't matter how veteran of a player they are or new of a player they are, it gets them immersed, it gets them excited. You know, I mean, look at Critical Role, look at Matt Mercer. Now, I think Matt goes in a slightly different direction. I think he's all about having those really engaging maps. He's got that gigantic map room. He's got a million different bits from Dwarven Forge. It's also a full-time job for him. You know. But he engages his players by having these really engaging big maps that he sets up. Now, personally, I find that hard. You know, his style of DMing is there's maybe one encounter a night, maybe two. My players have a tendency to want a little bit more combat, and if you're going with pre-written modules by Dungeons and Dragons, there's definitely way more combat than that. His DMing style is more heavily focused on the role-playing, as is evident by just critical roles overall, you know, what they're selling to the audience. But, you know, my group is my groupsa and my DMing style is, you know, let's have a mix of great combats and great role playing. And you know, there's some nights where it's going to be nothing but combat. And it's going to be room after room after room of combat. Not always, but sometimes. My last session was that way for sure. Our next session on our Saturday meet is going to be completely combat. Because they're just going to be fighting this guy in his many forms. And, you know, to do that with maps, just having a bunch of different maps that you have slapped down, I don't know. I find that's, A, more expensive. Having to like get all those parts for all those maps. I mean, have you seen Matt Mercer's map room? It's crazy. It's awe-inspiring, don't get me wrong. But like, I can't imagine how long it took him to like come up to amass that collection of stuff for all those maps. And because Matt is more focused on his maps, he doesn't really focus on the minis as much. You know, sometimes he'll put in a huge effort for, you know, I think everybody remembered Vecna at the end of Campaign 1. But I like to focus more on the minis. And if you do too, again, that is what I am here for, to teach you how to keep up with your campaign, paint minis to a high quality standard, and still keep your day job. Yeah, only painting a few hours a week. You get it done in the evening. If you work from home, maybe on your lunch hour. A little bit on the weekend, wherever you can fit it in. But you're going to be seeing, again, once I'm done with these models, this whole channel is going to be very focused on printing and painting for a whole campaign, start to finish. Slowing down a lot right here, you'll notice, because there's a point where the tentacles are, and then there's different sort of sinewy textures. I want to make sure that the tentacles stay this blue color, but I want to paint that sinewy color or Vulpus pink. Tentacles seem to be sort of weaving in and out here. Such a great sculpt. Shout out to Comet Lord Miniatures if you ever watch my work. This is one of your best. Love it. I think currently right now he is on a break from his sculpting. That doesn't stop me from promoting him. I'm not sponsored or anything. That's not sponsored by anybody right now. Look me up if you want to sponsor me. MiniPaintingDM@gmail.com. Pretty simple, easy to find me. It's actually good that there's this sinew here because it gives like, it breaks up the model a bit. You know, one of the rules in sort of sculpting minis is you never want too much of the same thing, or else it just reads like a jumbly mess. And then, well, this model is kind of a jumbly mess, but it is a chaotic creature. But having that sinew in there definitely helps break up the model and give us a couple of different areas of texture and color. Oh shit, nope, that's the wrong color. Nope. Get out of there, you're the wrong color. Bulbous pink. Yes, I'm one of those savages that licks my brushes. It's a bad habit. I know it. Deal with it. There we go. That's what we want. Yeah. Shout out again to royalty-free synthwave on Spotify. Really making my life easier, allowing me to listen to the kind of music I like listening to while painting, and not having to worry about copyright claims on my damn channel. There we go. There we go. I'm tendency to hold my breath sometimes while I paint. Not a good practice. Just breathe normally, people. You know, painting this guy is actually giving me like, and listening to synthwave is getting me all like hyped for whenever it's finally coming out, the new season of Stranger Things. I didn't get on the Stranger Things bandwagon when it first came out. I think I started watching it in the middle of season 3. Binged the hell out of it, of course. And I love it. It's great. I like how they represent Dungeons and Dragons in it. That's cool. But mostly I just love the freaky horror. Alright. Let's do some more sinewy stuff here. Look at this. clear where flesh starts and stops and sinew starts and stops. Kind of doing a little bit of freehand, if you will. I might have to change the position of that stat block because I'm noticing I'm sometimes leaning a little bit to the left and I'm behind the stat block. So it might need to go over on the right side. Yeah, that's good. Like that. Nice. Ooh, got some sinewy whatchamacallit down in there. Actually, we had that over here too. Well, thankfully this paint is opaque and strong enough. It seems to agree well with just painting over. Alright. Slowing down here. That's okay. We are in the home stretch. That wasn't smart. Sometimes I get lazy and I don't switch to the smaller brush when I should. There we go. We have another Eye of Red over here. I think when we go in at the end and we paint all the pupils with a little black dot, I think that's going to help sell the final thing. But, so right now, I'm liking where it is. Alright. Getting warm under all these lights. Whew. Can't wait for my group to see this model on Saturday. Fun fact, one of my favorite Final Fantasies. I think your favorite Final Fantasy is definitely determined by like when you know, what Final Fantasy was out when you were a kid, but my favorite Fantasy by far, Final Fantasy VI. And for those who know anything about Final Fantasy VI, the end boss fight is a multi-stage boss fight. Kafka. And so what I'm going to do, and you'll see with the next mini I paint after this one, there are some like themes that are very similar between Kafka and this character, or at least how his forms are portrayed. You know, I think phase 1 of the fight is this, where it's more grotesque and whatnot. I think that lines up with the first sort of major phase of the fight. And then later on in the fight, you have him in more like an angelic form, right? As a demigod, which this character is a demigod, and takes an angelic form after you defeat him in his angelic form. So, part of my sinister plan for this meet for this next session is, as they're fighting this boss, I'm actually going to be playing Dancing Mad, which is that final, such an amazing piece that was produced for that game and that encounter. It's amazing because it was designed in such a way that it was actually like 4 different acts for the 4 different stages of the boss fight. And it would transition between those acts of the piece, and each individual piece could be played independently in a loop. And there was like a few pieces that were like transitionary notes that allowed for transition between Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 that could be on a slight delay played. And anyways, there's this whole video is talking about how much of a technical masterpiece it was, as well as a compositional masterpiece from a music theory perspective. I just love it. I think it'll be fun to, I don't know if I'm going to handle the transition stuff as well, because I only have like separate acts in like a playlist. And so I'll be able to manually switch between, you know, different acts of the fight as the fight progresses on and as forms change. But it just won't be as good as like in the game where they actually like play the, you know, do the, I forget how they do it. I think it was like a fade, or there was a few notes that could be played that sort of transitioned it between one part of the song and the other. All right. As you see here, I'm having a problem painting over an area that already had paint on it with a small brush. So what I'm doing right now is I'm grabbing more paint, slapping it on there, With a big brush, I see that fixed it. That is why you'll get vastly different results with contrast paint and your brushes. Like you really need to have the right size brush for the right surface area that you're covering. Because you just want, again, you just want to be like sweeping over the area with the contrast paint and being bad and not waiting for areas to dry before you start putting on more paints and they start bleeding together. Don't be like me. Don't rush. Wait, I'm teaching you how to rush. I'm so contradictory. Well, don't rush. Go fast, but don't rush. Home frickin' stretch, home frickin' stretch. We're really closing in on the end now. Wow. Final skin stage has definitely taken a lot longer than the rest of the model, which makes sense. It is the largest surface area. And we've had to stop a few times to make some corrections, paint some stuff that we missed before. Like sinew, eyeball or two. Hey, for such a large model, even if this thing ends up taking a total of 2 hours, that's pretty great in my book. Once I ended a campaign with my group without painting the final boss, I am still getting hell for it. It was another Comet Lord miniature. His Dracolich, which at the time, in my opinion, was probably the best Dracolich, and still is, in my opinion, one of the best Dracoliches that's out there. You should check it out if you need a Dracolich for your upcoming campaign. That model is still not painted, sadly. But I have him in a display case, ready for the day where I need a Dracolich again, which I will because I'm running that campaign for that exact same campaign for my niece's campaign. So any of the minis where I broke my rule and put a mini on the table unpainted. I'm making good on that and getting them painted this time around. There's actually also a lot of minis that when the first time I ran that campaign, there just wasn't good minis available. Like, for example, for the life of me, I couldn't find any Onkegs. Or the Onkegs that were out there, I just didn't like. And between that time, which was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now, and today, hey, lo and behold, there's Onkegs. I think I ended up using the Onkegs from DM Stash. Really great. Love multiple poses. Multiple poses is great when you need to have like 3 or 4 of a thing in an encounter. Again, it really helps sell it for the players when you have different poses. If there's one criticism I have of Loot Studios is that they really don't have a lot of multiple poses for monsters, but you know what? Their stuff is so high quality, I don't care. One trick you can do with 3D printing is just mirror the monster, and sometimes that alone will help give like the illusion of different poses. Because one will be like facing one direction, the other one will be facing this way. A twist of the body is enough to sort of fool the eye and think that they're different poses, even when it's the same pose. Oh man, look at this! We're getting there. I think this is gonna be sinew. Yeah, if I look at the other side, that's sinew. Let's get that painted up. Home fucking stretch. Alright, well, let me get some of these really big areas before I start switching to small brush. I've got some small ass areas coming up that I don't use the small brush at times. Let's get all this banged out. All right. Getting close to the point of needing a smaller brush. Almost. finish off this tentacle that we've been so lovingly resting our fingers against. That's the exact reason why we didn't want to use a big brush, and yet we still... Trying to be good to our eyes here. The eyes of the model, that is. Key to being good to your eyes while painting is good lighting. Hey, new follower. Welcome. We are on the home stretch of this model. Getting the last bit of skin done. I think I'm going to paint these nails black. On his creepy little hands. Whew. Final stretch. Oh, close that up. All right, we got Black Templar. Switch to a smaller brush. This is a 0. A really good point for going in here and Just putting a little red dot in the middle of all of these peoples. Excuse me, black dot. What did I say, red dot? This is where extreme rush control super matters. But, you know, you could skip this step. Is this really going to be noticeable on the table? Probably not. Especially on some of these smaller eyeballs. And remember, we want to be focusing on things that the players are going to notice. And if they're not going to notice it, don't waste your time on it. Because why? You ain't got time for that shit. Alright. Done with our teeny tiny brush. Go back to the slightly larger brush. And time to do the nails. This is Black Templar, of course. Looks like I broke off his fingernail on one of his hands. Probably during 3D printing cleaning process. Taking off supports. Who knows? Just gonna do a little dot block there. Nobody's gonna notice. Alright. Well, I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. We are going to pick up all our paint because we like having an organized workstation. That's something we do have time for. Being organized makes us faster painters. Pick all this up. Put these to the side. Grab our basing brush. How many times did the miniature fall off the handle today? Once. Only once. One time. These Vallejo primers, as a reminder, I like using black primer for the base rim because you should be picking up miniatures by the base, so it's going to get the most handling by fingers. And so I just like using a black primer. It gives it a nice, matte finish and looks great. Sometimes I'll thin it down a little bit. But there we go. I like painting bases with a black rim because it makes it feel like a little piece of a little masterpiece. It also helps. I don't know, I think it makes the base pop than the rest of the base. You know, we could have painted this rim, you know, Agros Dunes color. Let's see, now that it's black, you're gonna notice like this, the fact that that tentacle's hanging over it, it's gonna pop out more. And I think that that is way better than trying to paint it the same color. Plus, you know, again, from a Dungeons and Dragons perspective, you don't know where this creature is going to be. You know, what mat you're going to put it on. You know, you may put it down today on like a brown mat, but what in the future you put it down on like a, you're running like a campaign where, you know, maybe it's a Planescape or something where you're in the abyss. You put on like a weird stellar map or something that's got cool like stars, whatever. You want either way, you want sort of the black base to create like a separation between, creates like a color separation between the mini and the table. It helps it sort of stand out on its own. That's what I like doing. And then when you put it on a shelf, it feels like a little masterpiece. Now for base painting, if you'll notice, I'm using a flat brush instead of a round brush. Reason for that is because I'm doing a lot of like, I just find that the flat brush makes it easier to do these like nice sharp edges like that. And then when I'll go back over it, I'll sort of paint downward like this, making sure that there's enough paint on the brush that I'm not getting brush strokes. Because nobody wants to see brush strokes on their base. Want a nice smooth base. You also go across it sideways like this. That's another way to make sure that you don't get brush strokes on the base. There we go. Finished model. Start to finish. A little over 2 hours. If you include all of the initial sort of stream starting time and my intro, that's about 2 hours, start to finish. Comet Lord Emissary. And as soon as I finish washing off my brush here, I will give you a sneak peek into what I'm painting. I think I could probably get it painted tomorrow before I head over to my D&D, to my niece's birthday party / D&D group. But let's pull it down. Here we go. Let's move him aside. And this is what we'll be painting tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get a slightly better shot. There we go. But yeah, this is Alyxian is in his angelic form. After you've dealt with him in his callous, Alyxian the Tormented, this is his sort of exalted form. dope-ass wings. He's always depicted with a shield and a spear. This model is from Artisan Guild. I think it's one of their first big bosses, quote-unquote, from their releases. Or I think it was a seasonal reward. It was one of the first minis that I missed. I didn't start collecting Artisan Guild until after a few months after they started, so I had to go back and buy this guy during one of their sales. But yeah, it's a great sculpt. Should be fun. There's going to be a lot of texture and detail to him. The wings are going to be really fun to paint. And yeah, so that'll be next time. Probably, like I said, tomorrow. Pretty early I'll be streaming. Maybe around noon Pacific. Probably noon Pacific is the latest I'll start streaming. Because I need to get over to my brother's at around 5, and so it'll give me time to get the paint job done and get going. So, till next time, everybody, happy painting, happy Dungeons and Dragonsing, and see you next time. Thanks.